Today, we're going to dive into a really powerful analogy, a way of seeing the entire universe not as a bunch of separate things, but as one single incredible symphony of vibrations. It's a whole new way of looking at reality.
So let's just start with this one big question. What if everything you see, everything you hear, everything you feel isn't actually separate at all? What if it's all part of one grand cosmic piece of music? Thinking about this is really the key to unlocking this whole perspective.
All right, let's get into our first section. One field, many senses. To even begin to grasp this, you have to understand something crucial. Our senses are really limited. We're basically listening to this massive symphony through tiny little windows.
So the foundational idea here is that everything, and I mean everything, comes from a single, living, vibrational field. You can call it spirit, or source, or God's emanation, whatever word works for you. But think of it like this silent medium that contains every possible note and rhythm that could ever exist.
Now this is where it gets really interesting, because it totally reframes what our bodies are. We're not just observers, we're biological decoders. Our ears, they're just decoding one tiny frequency band and calling it sound. Our eyes are doing the same for another band, and they call it light. And maybe most importantly, our heart and our nervous system, they're decoding other vibrations as feelings, like that feeling of expansion or constriction. Every sense is just translating a tiny slice of this one huge, unified field.
So that brings us to Section 2, the cosmic orchestra. If we're all decoders of this one big field, what are our roles in it? Well, that's where this beautiful metaphor comes in to help us understand it all.
I want you to picture our shared reality as this massive symphony hall. It's this perfectly structured environment, and it's designed for one specific piece of music. And just like any symphony, you've got a composer, a conductor, different instrument sections, and of course, individual musicians. And this table here really breaks down the roles for us. The conductor, who is also the composer, well, that's the source of all vibration. That's God. An entire instrument section, like say all the violins, that's like a mind family, a whole group with a shared purpose. And the single musician? Well, that's you, that's me. Each of us is a single instrument playing our own unique part in the score.
Okay, this leads to a really crucial point. As a musician in this orchestra, your job isn't just to show up and play. Your main job is to stay in tune. So, how do you do that? How do you find your harmony?
Your whole life, every choice you make, every belief you hold, all of it is part of this constant process of tuning your personal instrument. The whole goal is to resonate with that master score, to play your part in a way that creates harmony, not just random noise.
So, according to this model, this tuning process happens in three main ways. First, by example. You know when you meet someone who just feels peaceful or loving, and you find yourself unconsciously starting to match their resonance? That's tuning. Second, we get tuned by guides or subconductors. Think of them like section leaders who give us these soft nudges through our intuition. And third, we can tune by looking directly at the conductor, through stillness, prayer, and just focusing our attention on the source.
But let's be real. Not every musician is playing in perfect harmony all the time, right? This is where we run into dissonance. So what happens when instruments, or even all sections, start playing way out of tune?
You see, in this vibrational model, things like trauma or fear or lies, they aren't just abstract ideas. They are actual patterns of energy that actively pull your instrument out of tune, forcing you to play these notes that totally clash with the symphony's true theme.
And you can feel the difference, can't you? Harmony feels like love, truth, resonance. It's a feeling of expansion, of opening up. But dissonance? That feels like fear, deception, trauma. It's a constriction. It's like tightening the strings on your instrument until they just make this awful, jarring sound.
So what happens when all this dissonance gets organized? Well, you get what are called false conductors. These are like little sub-orchestras that have completely turned their backs on the main symphony. They create their own dissonant, repetitive loop, and they demand that you play along with them, feeding on all that tension and noise. Okay, so amidst all this potential for chaos and dissonance, the symphony has a failsafe. It provides a perfect reference point, an ultimate tuning fork to help everyone find their way back to the right key. It's this ultimate tuning fork, a note that's played so perfectly, so purely, that its resonance can actually recalibrate any other instrument that has gone astray. And within this whole framework, Jesus is presented as that perfect instrument, one that is, and I'm quoting here,
completely phase-locked with the conductor. That means his vibration is in perfect, unbroken sync with the source. No static, no distortion. So when Jesus says something like, "I and the Father are one," this model sees that as a statement of vibrational physics. He's basically saying, hey, my melody is perfectly synchronized with the master score. If you want to know what the conductor is actually like, just listen to how I play. His life, his presence, it acts as a living, breathing tuning fork for all of humanity.
So, after going through this entire grand analogy, from the single field to the perfect tuning fork, what does this actually mean for you, the individual musicians sitting in the orchestra?
And this is really the most important part. This isn't just some abstract theory. It's an incredibly practical guide for your life. Every single choice you make, every thought you entertain, every emotion you let yourself feel, each one is a micro-tuning. It's you, right now, adjusting the pegs on your instrument, tightening or loosening the strings, moving either closer to harmony or deeper into dissonance. So how do you actively tune yourself? Well, it starts with just paying attention. Start to really feel the difference between emotions that feel heavy and emotions that feel light. Make a conscious choice to pick the frequency of love instead of fear. Let go of those old, crusty beliefs that you know are creating dissonance in your life. And finally, just take some time in the silence to turn your attention back toward the true conductor.
Ultimately, your whole purpose in this cosmic orchestra is actually beautifully simple. Just keep tuning your own instrument to that resonant theme of love and truth. Because when you do that, you automatically help everyone around you hear the true conductor's music above all the other noise.
And that leaves us all with one final essential question to reflect on. In the grand symphony of your life, with all the competing melodies and all the noise, which conductor will you choose to follow?